Did you know that most marketing teams for financial services firms don't fail because of poor execution? They fail because they were broken from the start.
Or they're executed halfway. Someone builds a plan but never follows through or implements it without clarity or commitment.
I'm Mandy MacPhee, founder of Illumination. I work with fintech founders and CEOs, translating their vision into a strategic marketing system.
And I'm Joel Crampton, founder of CMO Alpha. I work with RIAs, financial advisory firms, financial planners to turn marketing from a cost center into a competitive edge. Today, we're digging into why so many marketing plans in financial services fail and what to do about it. So, Mandy, why did we create this podcast?
Most podcasts talk about what to do. We're here to talk about what actually gets done.
And we want to invite industry experts onto the podcast to share their insights. We also created this podcast because we want to build trust and credibility with our clients, because we know that's exactly what financial advisors and other firms have to overcome when they're working with a new client. And, these clients are giving potentially their life savings over to somebody. And if they don't trust the person, they're not going to be comfortable to do that. By showing us that we're real people, here's us on camera, here's our unedited, unfiltered way that we speak and the way that we think. For us doing this podcast, that's one way we are showing our trust and our credibility to our key clients.
I hear you on that. I am a very transparent person. You'll see me come on camera, no makeup, completely unfiltered. You'll see a little bit of hairstyle every once in a while, but I am completely transparent, honest, and unfiltered. Trust is so important, especially from a fintech perspective, where security and privacy of data isn't just a feature. It's the foundation of trust. It's the number one trust serum, because without it, your platform is just code and your brand is absolutely one breach away from collapse. In fintech, users don't just buy your product. They're entrusting you with their most sensitive financial information. If that trust is broken, the fallout isn't just technical, it's reputational.
No, absolutely. Trust and privacy are of utmost importance to the clients that I work with. They have access to all the personal and private information of the clients that they're serving, all, like I said, all their investments, all their life savings. And those people a lot of times want to be private. They don't want people to know that they do have wealth. And so that's something that when I work with clients, I sign NDA agreements or confidentiality agreements just to ensure that everything that I'm exposed to within the organization, I keep completely secret.
In 2020, Ledger, who's a hardware crypto wallet company, they had a data breach that exposed the personal information of over 270,000 customers, their names, their emails, and in some cases, physical addresses. So while the crypto assets themselves remained secure, the damage was already done. Phishing attacks followed, customers were threatened, and the brand's reputation took a major hit. Once trust is broken, it's really hard to rebuild that trust. So in this space, there's no separating platform trust from brand trust. It's the way it is. And that means, building security and transparency and privacy into your messaging system. That's not just a product message. It's critical. It's not about just being compliant. It's about having to communicate that trust consistently and credibly across every single touch point.
Yeah, I completely agree. We're both in financial services. We know that privacy and trust is of utmost importance. And I think by having this podcast, we're bringing a voice and video to who we are so that potential clients can start building that trust with us, that we're real people with real expertise and real insights into what drives success in the firms that we work with.
Yeah.
So can you tell the audience how we first met? You're in Canada, I'm in the United States. How would we run into each other?
Joel's in Kansas. I'm in Toronto, Canada.
Hold on, I'm in Missouri. I'm
Oh,
not
I'm
in Kansas.
sorry. I'm sorry. Let me start that again.
Yeah.
Joel's in Missouri and I'm in
Hmm.
Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So we crossed paths through a company called CMOX, which is a program led by Casey Stanton. And he brings together other fractional CMOs across all walks of business. So while we focus on different corners of the financial services world, we quickly realized that we shared the same passion for cutting through marketing chaos and driving real business growth. And that connection sparked the idea of this podcast.
We both solve the same types of problems in marketing. We're just located in different countries. And we named the podcast CMOs Without Borders, partly because of the countries, but also as a nod to how we break down silos and borders between the different departments within the companies we work with. I'm certainly not going to get into any tariffs or anything political on this podcast. So we're just going to stick to what we do best, which is marketing. Um, I have an English last name, but I'm half Dutch. My mom was born and raised in the Netherlands. And Mandy, you're in Canada, but
With my last name, do I look Scottish? I have an Asian background. My husband's heritage is Scottish, so I know a lot about the values of the Scottish heritage, like the kirkins of the tartans, the bagpipes, the Scottish games, the Highland games, which we were just at this past weekend. So that Scottish heritage is not born in me, but is part of me. Where I do come from is my parents were born and raised in the Caribbean. So while I look Asian, I actually am fifth, sixth generation Chinese. My parents were actually born and raised in Guyana, so it's a very Caribbean background filled with curries and jerk chickens and all sorts of great cultural elements from that part of the world.
yeah. Well, don't get me started on any Dutch food. I am not a big fan of sauerkraut and some of the other things they have.
Yeah.
And Scottish haggis.
Haggis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like that?
No. don't ask
Yeah,
me
I don't
to
either.
don't ask me to eat any haggis.
Yeah. Uh, so we're going to jump into this episode and figure out why so many marketing plans in financial services fail before they even launch. Whether you're running a solo advisory firm or leading a $10 billion institution, the cracks in your marketing plan do tend to start in the same place. You have unclear positioning, lack of alignment, no one really owning the strategy.
I think there are lots of reasons, but it all starts with the right leadership in place and setting the right foundations. What I'm seeing overall is that there's no alignment between product sales, marketing, or no alignment between the product that you're selling, the client that you're selling it to, and the channels that you're selling it into. Are you seeing the same thing, Joel?
Absolutely. US firms may prioritize speed over strategy quite often, just to get things done and out the door. Um, but I think it does start with the leadership, and that's frankly why a lot of firms bring in people such as me and myself in a fractional capacity. They know they have a problem with leadership. And no one's really owning that strategy. Everything is misaligned. And so they know from a marketing standpoint, they need to bring in a fractional leader to help bring all those pieces together, put everything in line, create that strategy and a plan, and start running with it. Anything from a Canadian perspective, like I said, U.S. firms are more speed over strategy typically. What about in Canada?
Yeah, I think, in Canada, while in the US, you're about speed, getting things done and out the
Hmm.
door. In Canada, sometimes we lean way too heavily on internal consensus and process. So things often stall because we're Canadians. We like to all agree and happily play merrily together.
They're so friendly.
Yeah, the Canadian way. It is everybody must agree. Everybody must be a part of the decision making, but that doesn't help with speed. it doesn't help get things out the door. It
Mhm.
often stalls things when it comes to trying to execute with efficiency and with excellence. You know, I often also see on the Canadian side is that we want growth, but we're not willing to commit the budget, time, or focus on it. We struggle with getting the right marketing and sales budgets to really support the growth that the organization wants to see.
Mhm. So what do Canadian firms get right more often then? If
Yeah.
everything is fun and friendly, I mean, there's certainly a successful economy, you know. So what do you guys get right?
I think overall we get right our brand and the discipline in creating a trust focused message. It is really interesting to see how in the fintech space that more and more often you're seeing that trust messaging in place. We see with the big banks, a lot of them have suffered from data breaches in the past in Canada. And if you know Canada at all, we are dominated by six banks. So, at some point or the other, they've had a data breach. So they have to build into their brand that trust focused messaging.
Yeah, I can't only imagine how many times my information has been exposed. And I get those letters all the time or those emails saying, hey, your information has been part of that security or data breach. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I know it's all out there, but, and they're like, well, we'll give you free monitoring for 3 months. I'm like, well, I already have four other companies that are offering free monitoring because they breached my data. So it's like, well, how many times can my data be monitored? I mean, it's to the point where I think people have just gotten accustomed to their data being leaked.
There's a little
And
bit of
unfortunately, that's where we're
apathy.
at.
Yeah, there's a little bit of apathy, isn't there?
Yeah, I
But it's
agree.
so important. My sister was just telling my daughter that she must use her credit card. Don't use your debit card because you cannot get anything back from your debit card or your account if your bank account is breached.
Hmm.
So, she's advocating for use your credit card all the time because that data breach that happens on your bank account, you're fully accountable for all the cash that's taken out of your account. How crazy is that?
Hmm. Yeah, I've heard that same advice, and I probably follow that pretty well too. I try to keep my bank account separate from anything. I don't like to spend. I have a debit card in my wallet, but I never pull it out.
Yeah.
It's not connected anywhere on any of the shopping sites that I'm on. So yeah, I do try to keep that separate.
Yeah. So tell me what US firms do better.
I think there's maybe a perceived faster adoption of marketing with some more of our aggressive growth goals. I mean, we're quick to adopt a lot of the new technology out there. Seems like a lot of it originates from Silicon Valley, which obviously is here in the United States. But I think overall, a surprising similarity between US firms and Canadian firms of what we don't do well is we typically undervalue the role of marketing leadership, and that's not just execution. That's from the very beginning, let's form a strategy and then executing that. Yes, but in general, marketing itself is usually one of the first areas at a company that gets cut. It's the first
Mhm.
team that has layoffs. And, if a company's struggling from a revenues perspective, they typically cut marketing first, which I think is kind of opposite. I think if you are trying to increase sales, then you need to increase your marketing and your advertising and not just cut what you think is a line item because it's an expense center. It actually you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot for short-term gains.
Why do you
Hmm.
think that is, though?
I think everyone thinks that marketing's easy. And I think it's because we try to make it look easy, but it is a very difficult thing to get right. And with all the different tools out there, no company knows, what's coming up next, what's the new tool that's going to be out there. Obviously, AI is making a big impact across all departments and organizations. But from a marketing perspective, there's so many more new tools that have come out.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, companies say, I've been hearing a lot of this from owners of marketing agencies that I work with. They have clients that they can get work out the door a lot faster to these clients because of these AI tools. And so their clients are saying, okay, so if you can get the work done in a third of the time because of these new AI tools, shouldn't we be paying a third less? And so I think agency owners are having a hard time justifying keeping their agreements at the same level.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be a shift for sure within marketing agencies. And I think we're starting to see that with some additional layoffs coming up probably this fall and some big marketing agencies.
So too. Look, I can go down a whole rabbit hole on AI
Yeah,
and what's happening. We're gonna have to do another podcast on that, Joel,
I think so
in
too.
the
Yeah.
future because that's a whole other conversation. I do think that a lot of companies don't necessarily see marketing as a revenue generator. They see it
Hmm.
as an expense, which is a
Yep.
problem. It's a problem from the perspective that if you see it as an expense, you're not measuring it back to the growth of the company. Marketing is a revenue generator, it's a growth system. So when
Mhm.
you can measure marketing back to the growth of the company, to its contribution margin, to its gross revenues and net revenues, it proves itself positive and proves itself as that growth engine. I think companies need to do a better job of measuring to the growth of the organization, measuring their KPIs and holding marketing accountable, just like they hold sales accountable. They should be holding marketing and their CMOs accountable for that revenue growth.
No, I completely agree. And I think it starts with having those goals clearly defined and agreed to so that we're all working towards the same goal. And, a lot of times, firm owners, they just want more leads. The sales team wants more leads, and like that's fantastic. But what kind of leads? What kind of quality? Like, do we want more revenue? Do we want bigger deal sizes? I mean, sure, we can bring in tons and tons of leads, but are they going to be high quality? No, probably not, unless we have that focused strategy in place so that we know where we're going. I worked with a company and it was, we just needed more leads. I'm like, okay, I gave you a ton of leads, what you asked for, but the sales team is saying these aren't the greatest leads. I'm like, oh, that's fine. Well, should the goal be more revenue, and let's go after the leads that bring the most revenue, so that's going to look like a lot fewer leads, so it's a more targeted approach to lead generation, so the lead volume is going to go down but the lead quality is going to go up.
Yeah, that funnel is so important and ensuring that you're not just getting marketing qualified leads in the door, that you're getting those sales qualified leads.
Yep.
So their quality, it's not about quantity, it is about quality of leads
Yep.
that marketing is driving in the door.
Yeah, I agree. Going back to why people maybe have an inaccurate view of marketing and what it can do. I work with a lot of firm owners that have a very strong financial background. They have credentials like a CFP or CPA, finance degrees. They have some common thinking around what marketing is. And a lot of times they just, like you were saying, it's an expense center. But if we can show some aligned execution with measurable results, our KPI metrics and dashboards, and we're showing a return on investment, it's hard to argue, I think, with the impact that marketing can make in an organization. If you can spend $1 to make $10, you do that all day until that margin starts to shrink. And I think a lot of firms are starting to realize the impact that marketing can have on generating revenue and not just being a cost center. So not only helping the sales team generate revenue, but generating revenue by itself in marketing.
And, a lot of fintech founders recently, and they are all technical specialists. They're technology operations compliance people, all experts in their own fields. And what they saw when they became a founder was they saw a deep problem to solve for, and they built solutions to meet that. But what they weren't aware of when they went into these roles and when they built their company, they weren't aware of marketing best practices. Some of them may have never worked with a marketing team in the past. So, seeing a lot of misnomers around what marketing can do for their companies and how to develop that go to market strategy. I'm sure you're seeing the same with the CFPs and CPAs and RIAs that you're working with as well. I just said a
Mhm.
lot of acronyms, Joel.
Oh, it's an alphabet soup out there. Yeah. Some of those common things that we always hear from organizations, no matter if they're in financial services or in transportation logistics or software or, lawn care. I mean, marketing is just an expense.
Yeah.
It's actually an investment. Marketing isn't just about pretty pictures. They're very strategic. There's what are those pictures trying to drive? Like what's the strategy behind that?
Yeah.
What's the emotion you're trying to evoke from having those pictures? I mean, I've had graphic designers spend hours and hours trying to find the perfect photo that elicits the response in the viewer that we want them to get. So it's not just about uh, doing a quick Google search on an image. There's a lot of thought and strategy behind something about pretty pictures. So I hear that a lot.
Yeah, I hear a lot that I can do sales without marketing.
Mhm.
What do you think about that? I can do sales without marketing.
You can. I think marketing can be a sales enabler. We can help sales teams sell faster, better, more deeply with our clients. And marketing helps maintain that relationship. A lot of times, sales' job is to just get people in the door and then they hand off to the service team once they're on board. And so, marketing is there to extend the lifetime value of our customers and clients
Yeah.
and elicit more referrals and have them go deeper with our product line and buy more products and services. And so, yeah, you can do sales without marketing, but can you do long-term sales without marketing? Can you have those sticky customers?
It's much harder to get a sale when it's cold versus warming it up.
Hmm.
If
Absolutely.
someone knows about your brand already or knows a little bit about your product, it's an easier sale to get to. They've already heard about you, they've already seen something in market about you. It's something that the sales team can leverage to make that intro a little bit easier for them. I think brand awareness, it can be downplayed a lot. Do I need
Hmm.
brand awareness?
Sometimes it's hard to measure. That's probably why.
That,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Hard to measure, but it's so critical.
Mm.
When you're thinking about an online brokerage as an example in Canada, as I think about, okay, I want to do my own direct investing. I want to do it myself. Where do I want to go? I'm going to go to the first place, research the first place I can think of off the top of my head. That's where brand and awareness comes in. So that would be in Canada, that would be your either one of your big banks, or it could be Wealthsimple or Questrade. They're the biggest in Canada.
Hmm.
So when you think about brand awareness, you automatically have to think about how can you be top of mind when the customer is ready to make a decision.
Yeah. Yeah. Sales is about driving the immediate sale. I mean, they typically don't spend too long or they don't have the time to reach out as frequently as marketing does. We have a lot of automated campaigns that we can put in place, and same with sales teams. They can have sequences like in HubSpot or Salesforce that can kind of send out these nurturing emails, and those are great. But they also need a marketing approach as well
Yeah.
to stay top of mind, especially the ones that aren't ready to purchase from us right now. They still need to learn more about us and be more kind of talking about what we started talking about with building up that trust and credibility, uh, uh, especially with some of those big purchases. Your sales cycle is really long because you're selling a very uh, high value product or service, then people are going to spend more time getting to know you. And so if they initially reach out to you and they're not quite ready to buy, then we can put them into our nurturing campaigns and our funnels and send out messaging that really develops that relationship. And again, that's where marketing comes in, and we can drive that value and that revenue, in fact.
So we just talked about sales without marketing. What I also hear a lot is that I'm going to hire a sales executive before I hire a marketing executive. It's chicken before the egg, right? From my perspective, when I think about what to hire first, if you don't have your messaging right and you don't have consistent messaging across the organization, especially from the founder's perspective, the founder often has a very clear vision of what their product does and how it can help people. How do you get that message out into market consistently? I think that hiring marketing, creating that marketing system, that brand and messaging system first is critical to ensure that the entire organization is moving and saying the same things.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's actually a good little segue into what you and I do, Mandy, as in a fractional capacity. A lot of times we go into organizations and we develop that framework or that foundation for what that messaging looks like so that we are better positioning the company in their go-to-market strategies. And
Yeah.
so we can the owners or the sales team, when they do come on board, have something to work from, and everything is very well aligned with the company's key value propositions, and here's the message that we think is going to really resonate out in the marketplace. And so those sales teams don't have to start from scratch.
Yeah, and from a fractional perspective, a lot of founders feel like they can't afford that marketing executive. They can afford the
Mhm.
sales executive, but they can't afford that marketing executive. You can afford a fractional marketing executive. Absolutely. We work at a fraction of the cost. So if you think about a CMO, a full-time CMO doing marketing full-time for one company, as a fractional CMO, we are doing the same work for multiple companies at the same time at the fraction of the cost. So it's much easier to afford that marketing executive and to get that system in place to help you grow exponentially.
Obviously, I agree because I'm a fractional CMO as well. So one of the things that I've also heard is marketing hasn't worked for us in the past. Why would we want to hire somebody to do marketing again? We've had agencies before. They were supposed to handle it. We ended up doing a lot of the work ourselves. Why should we hire a fractional CMO? And I don't want that to be what this episode's about, but these are just some of the things that we've heard overcome about working with companies. So how do you go about talking about when founders say marketing hasn't worked for us in the past?
Yeah.
Why do you what different things are you going to bring to the table that we haven't already tried?
Yeah, there's a few things, right? You talked a little bit about the agency didn't do what we were asking it to do. When you hire an agency, they're on the outside and they
Yeah.
remain on the outside. Agencies tend to give you a package program that you work with, whereas hiring a marketing executive in the team directly will allow them to integrate with your executive team, will allow them to be part of the business and be integrated in so that they can contribute to the growth. When you have that agency on the outside, they're not seeing the inner workings of the organization. And honestly, agency speaks marketing speak. Bringing a marketing executive in who can speak business speak and translate that to the agency is critical to create those briefs for them, to work with them directly and speak the marketing speak, to get them to do what you want them to do.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I'm not anti-agency.
Yeah.
I think agencies bring a lot of value to organizations, especially from a fractional CMO standpoint. Manny, you and I are just one person. We're not typically going to be doing all the work ourselves. We operate at a high strategic level, and that's where we are best utilized. We can certainly get in the weeds and do the things that need to get done, but that's not the best use of our time. And so I often use marketing agencies or contractors or the vendors, or if there's somebody on the staff of the company that I'm working with, then they can certainly implement some of the things that I'm putting in place from a strategic standpoint. So yeah, certainly not anti-agencies.
Yeah.
And in fact, a lot of agencies are offering fractional CMO services as part of their service offering. So I think they themselves are seeing the value in it because a lot of companies are seeking out that, and so they say, okay, well, if people are seeking out fractional CMOs, we should offer that, and it still lends itself to being an outside person,
Yeah.
because it is an agency. I mean, I don't want to say they're glorified account managers, but they are with the agency. And they aren't ingrained into day-to-day conversations. They may have weekly calls or bi-weekly calls or monthly calls, but myself, I'm constantly in communication every day almost with the clients that I work with. I'm on all the email chains and the Slack messaging, and I try to fully ingrain myself as an employee. They just don't have to pay me taxes and bonuses and all that fun stuff if they don't want to.
Yeah.
And so that's where that shows that's where I find a lot of value is being a part of the team again from a fractional standpoint.
Yeah.
They get all the benefit of that, but not having to pay the big price
You're
tag.
so right, Joel. Agencies are our friends. I love my agency
Yeah.
friends and partners because they do things that I can't do. Where I thrive is translating the business strategy into a marketing strategy.
Yeah.
And then our agencies can pick that up really easily and take that and run with it. But that translation needs to happen somewhere.
Yeah, because still you're working with founders or CEOs or presidents of these companies that are not marketing people. And so certainly they're relying on the expertise of marketing agencies to offer them the recommendations. But when they have monthly recap calls about what the success have been with the marketing campaigns that agencies put in place, you're still talking to a non-marketing person and basically forcing that non-marketing person to make marketing decisions. And that's not what they're good at. That's why they hired the
Yeah.
agency. So it is that middle person that you need to translate, like you said, the vision of the company into marketing, and then go and be that liaison between the business and the marketing function itself, whether that's an outside agency doing it or internal teams doing it.
Yeah, I was talking to one of my agency friends the other day, and they were saying that they were working with a smaller company that doesn't have any marketing people in place. And they were working with the head of the business and a compliance person.
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't translate what they needed from marketing and what they needed from the agency. There was a lot of spinning, a lot of back and
Mm-hmm.
forth. And what the agency was delivering wasn't what they had thought they were looking for.
And it's
And
frustrating on both sides too, right?
frustrating on
There's,
both
yeah.
sides. And she said to me, "Oh my God, it would be so amazing if you were in place to help me translate that
Mm-hmm.
message, to help me get to what they're actually looking for," because they were spinning and the spinning was out of control. And what a waste of resources and
Mm-hmm.
time and money. It would be so much easier with an executive in place to do that.
Yeah, yeah. I hear the same thing from my agency friends too. They crave that person that can translate. So so how do we shift the thinking of company founders and other executives about marketing?
Yeah, I think it's about creating that framework.
Mhm.
Creating those foundational practices is the way to build that sustainable and accelerated growth in companies. Building that marketing system will allow us to get to that sustainable growth. And really, when you think about resilient marketing plans, there are three C's to it: clarity. Do we know who we are and who we're for?
Uh,
Capacity. Do we know
mhm.
the tools, talent, and time to execute? And commitment. Is leadership truly behind it?
Yeah, those are all great things. I'm always working to clarify marketing, because if your message isn't clear, it's not going to resonate with your audience. And from a marketing perspective, your audience is, yes, your potential clients and prospects that your company wants to deal with, but as a marketer, your audience is also the company founder or executive that is employing you to create these marketing campaigns. So if you don't have clarity on both sides, then there's going to be a disconnect. And so I certainly think that should be the number one part of any marketing plan, is make sure we're all clear on the outcomes of what we want marketing to accomplish and what marketing can deliver, and make sure that messaging is clear into the minds and hearts of our
Yeah.
key clients that we're
Clear and
going after.
measurable.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Right? Getting to that KPI and measuring it back to the growth of the organization, showing founders and CEOs how marketing can contribute to their revenue targets is critical in today's, vanity metrics, impressions, click
Open rates.
throughs, open rates, like that doesn't drive business. It's a way of reflecting marketing's role and ensuring that we can shift as we go. But the true KPI is in measuring that growth, contribution margin, gross revenue, net revenue, churn,
Yeah.
all of those
And we
things.
can get into all the alphabet soup too of ROAS and
Yeah.
CAC
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
but what founders want to know, what leaders want to know is what am I getting out? What's the ROI? And so often ROI is hard to track with a lot of marketing initiatives, and that's just something that we have to help people understand. Is there may not be a clear ROI immediately, but anything we can track, we're going to track to show that ROI.
I
So
love that call out, Joel.
yeah.
People think that you're going to, just like sales, you're going to see an immediate metric that will show you how you're doing. But reality is sometimes it takes 12 months, sometimes it takes 24, sometimes you'll see a result in 2 weeks. It takes time.
Marketing's a marathon, so
Yeah.
it's full of little sprints, but it's a long-term game plan.
Yeah. I love that. Love
And
that.
so your second point about resilient marketing plans is capacity. And I love the EOS model, the entrepreneur operating system model. I think that's a great format for companies that are
Mm-hmm.
small to medium sized and are trying to grow. And they certainly talk about having the right people in the right seats, or maybe it's the right seats and having the right people. I think that's key to getting your marketing plans executed. So, do we have the capacity? Do we have the right people? Do we have the right talent? Do we have the right tools for them? And just making sure, again, to your third point of commitment, is leadership truly behind providing the capacity for marketing to do their job well. If they don't provide marketing the budget to do the things that need to get done to get to the end goal, then we're just spinning our wheels. And marketing certainly is going to get frustrated, but we can't, because we can't put in place the things that we know are going to be successful, because there just isn't a true commitment from leadership behind those efforts.
I hear you on that. I think it is critical for companies to invest in marketing, and I don't
Mhm.
think enough companies do that to accelerate their growth. I think that a lot of companies think that sales can do it all. Me as a founder, I can do it all, which is crazy when you think
Mhm.
about, how to get to growth and how you get to your own personal work life balance.
Mhm.
Founders think that they can do it all. They need help.
Yeah.
And they need help from experts around them to help them grow and sustain that business.
Well, absolutely. And a lot of times, I mean, to their credit, they were doing it all when they first started the company. They were
Mm-hmm.
wearing all those hats. And again, part of that EOS model is deciding who's the visionary and who's the implementer. If you're the founder, if you have the vision, then you need to be the visionary. You need to come up with new ideas and new ways to grow the business. And you can't do that if you're also implementing the different strategies. And
Yeah.
you have to trust the people. You have to bring people on staff that may not do it exactly the way you want to get it done, but maybe they do it better than what you would have done for a couple reasons. Maybe they have more expertise, and then certainly they're going to have more time.
Yeah.
And so I think those two factors will show that leader, that founder, bringing on somebody from from marketing's perspective, or a sales leader, or a technology, any of these who are experts in their different departments in the company, is just going to help accelerate the growth.
Yeah, and kudos to the founders. I think that they brought the business to a certain level, and at that level, then you need to ensure that how do you get it from here to here, right? From a growth perspective, and while they were successful getting it to a certain level, in order to get to that next higher level, you need to surround yourself with
Yep,
people to help
completely
you.
agree. All right, so Mandy, what's your number one piece of advice from this episode?
Yeah, we talked a lot about trust, right? Trust isn't just a value, it's a business model. In financial services, trust is your platform. For fintechs, that means embedding security and transparency into your product and your messaging. For advisors, it's about showing up as a credible, real human. One breach of trust, technical or relational, can destroy your brand completely. How
Yeah,
about you?
I completely agree. Like we said earlier, most marketing plans don't fail in execution, they fail at the starting line. If you don't have a good plan in place, you're just spinning your wheels. So whether you're a fintech founder or a financial advisor, it's generally a broken marketing plan that is holding you back from success. You're just spinning your wheels. You've got fuzzy positioning, misaligned teams, strategies built in isolation. You're just throwing spaghetti at a wall and hoping something sticks. But it really takes a clear and committed leadership team to bring together a fully executed marketing plan that takes the guesswork out of what we're trying to accomplish as a company. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I have one more. I think that great marketing leadership isn't a luxury. It's your competitive advantage. And you can afford that with fractional services, with a fractional CMO like Joel or myself. Most firms completely undervalue a strategic marketing leadership, but sustainable growth really only happens when someone owns the system, from positioning to pipeline. Our framework, the three C's of resilient marketing plans: clarity, capacity, and commitment. You miss one and the whole thing wobbles. So I leave that with our audience to say, hey, we're out there, we can help, and we are affordable.
Absolutely. All right. Well, great first episode, Mandy. Great conversation. Can't wait for our next one.
Yeah, great chatting with you, Joel.